390 days have passed since you were last with us at the 𝘆cie𝗂𝗿 Stadium, and during that time we've seen several significant changes at the Stags. None more so than the appointments of these two gentlemen alongside me. And now for the first time, they're here to answer your questions. Welcome to 𝘆cie𝗂𝗿 Stadium for this virtual fans forum in conjunction with the Stag Supporters Association. And joining me to answer your questions is the Stags boss Nigel Clough and the Chief Executive Officer David Sharpe. Gentlemen, welcome to you both. Thanks for your time. One place to start, Tuesday night's superb 3-1 victory at home to Cheltenham Town. Nigel, how significant a win was that in Mansfield Town's season?
It was good to get back to winning ways. We think we've been playing well, but just making silly errors which have been costing us games. But complete performance last night, no mistakes, scored 3 very good goals and could have scored more. Considering the standard of the opposition being top of the league, it was a magnificent result and performance.
David, you've seen every game this season. Was that one of the best, if not the best, for Mansfield?
Yeah, I'd say it's right up there with our best performance of the season. Could have been more, like Nigel said. Great to see one of our own, Jason Law. Nigel's put him in the team and he stayed in the team and he's doing great. But all the players from back to front were different class last night, and hopefully it stays that way. But yeah, a big win in the season.
Let's head now to your questions. Nigel, you joined us following a 4-month break from football after leaving Burton Albion. It seems appropriate, therefore, to start with a question from a Brewers supporter, Anton Williams.
Great to see you've got a new job at Mansfield and obviously building another club up, hopefully to great success like our precious Burton Albion. Obviously sad to see you go, but just wonder what your greatest memory was of the time with Burton Albion. Obviously I hope you have more great moments with Mansfield, and all the best for the future.
Thanks, Anton. First of all, it's great to see Burton doing so well in the last few weeks as well, and getting away from the bottom of the league, and fingers crossed that they're going to survive this season. Be brilliant for everybody if they can. Looking back 15 years about being involved with Burton, so it's a long time, but I think the highlight still has to be the Manchester United Cup tie at home, and I think we'd only been in the Pirelli about a year when we managed to get the 0-0 and then take them back to Old Trafford. And but the memory also will always be there. 59 minutes on the clock, Rooney and Ronaldo coming on, and we still managed to keep them out for that last 30 minutes. So that's probably the most special memory that we've got, and it was so significant for the club.
Question submitted now via email from Jack Richardson in Forest Town, and it's for Nigel. Jack writes, Nigel, you had brilliant success at Burton Albion and were a big part of them climbing up the leagues. Do you draw upon what you did and how you did it with Burton now you're with Mansfield, as it could be seen as a similar challenge?
Yes, well, thankfully we're in the league. First of all, the Stags, we're not starting in the Dr. Martins as we did at Burton all those years ago. So I think we're a little bit ahead in lots of ways in terms of the training facilities, the stadium, and so on. But we'll be going about it in the same way, trying to slowly build, put the foundations in place that will be long-lasting, which will mean success for the club in the coming years. But the same principles will certainly apply. We try not to waste anybody's money. We'll do our best to bring youth team players through the academy and try and play as entertaining football as we can while trying to win games for the supporters.
A question now from Sue Cooper in Mansfield Woodhouse for both David and Nigel.
What attracted you to Stags? Right at the start, what attracted you most to become manager and CEO of Mansfield Town, please?
Being honest, the potential. I didn't want to just get involved with any football club just for the sake of it. I felt that this football club has lots of potential, mainly due to the chairman, to the co-chairs, John and Carolyn Radford. I think this club, as the amount of investment that's gone into the football club over the last 6-7 years, they've deserved success, but ultimately you don't get success but just by paying out big money, you have to have a good process and do things right. So that's why I wanted to be part of something that I felt had the potential to kick on. And we've got all the infrastructure in place, training ground, the academy. Now Nigel in charge of the team. So for me, it will take time, but 2-3 years, hopefully we'll see where we want to be and reward the owners with and the supporters with what we feel is success.
He just pinched my word. That was the same word I was going to use, potential, and that's what it is. I think the club's underperformed for some time, and I think with the support base and the infrastructure that is in place, then we can certainly get ourselves out of this league in the foreseeable future. But potential, there's not many clubs in football with this sort of potential that we have here, with the owners in place as well. So I think everybody's looking forward to the challenge.
Question now from Ashley Parks in Ladybrook for David Sharpe. David, do you see a similar structure here than you had at Wigan? Ashley asks.
Very difficult. Wigan was an ex-Premier League club with obviously parachute payments that were coming in. We'd won the FA Cup, so similar sized town, don't get me wrong, and what my grandfather Dave Whelan had achieved is probably similar to where Mansfield and Wigan were in the old Division 3, and it took him 10 years to get to the Premier League. Football's moved a hell of a lot in those last 10-20 years. You don't get much for the money now that he invested ball back then, but the infrastructure is very different, but at the same time this football club, for a League 2 club, when I first saw the training ground, the owners, when I met them, I spoke about their vision. They've got everything in place. We just need to deliver now, and how long that will take, we've got to remain patient. We all felt as low as we did on Saturday night, and then we'll have the highs of last night. So that things take time. You've got to map things out over 2, 3, 4 years, and hopefully. I'll never compare it to Wigan because very different clubs, but ultimately, things are in place, and let's see where we get to.
Another question from Jack Richardson for you, David. You found yourself in a vital role at such a young age when you were appointed chairman of Wigan Athletic. How did the experience help you in your role you now have with Mansfield?
Yeah, well, certainly I got thrown in at the deep end. I was 23 years old and the youngest chairman in football. I think the Sunderland chap's just beaten me. But he's got a much bigger football club than Wigan to run. So good luck to him. But thrown in at the deep end. I had a hell of a lot of good people around me. Good experience. So thankful for the opportunity. Not many people get that opportunity, of course. So, but it certainly gave me this opportunity. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that opportunity of running Wigan Athletic. And I'll use everything that I learnt there. Plus, I'm still there. We learn every day. Whatever job you're in, you're learning all the time. So it's great to have good people around me here as well. And I'm looking forward to if we can replicate what we had at Wigan, albeit a promotion. Let's see where that takes us in 2 or 3 years' time.
One of the things we have in common is we've been around football clubs a long time, growing up. And when you're growing up and you're absorbing and learning and watching how football clubs are run, then you take an awful lot of that on board, and it gives you a lot of experience, and hopefully stands you in good stead to do the job here.
What sort of relationship do you two have?
Very good, I have to say, very good.
Very good. I think because we share similar principles, because we've seen clubs run growing up, I think you've got to share those principles, I think, to get on how you want the club run from the top down, and I think we share standards and things like that, which are very important.
And your vision seems to be in line with one another's.
Yeah, it's the main thing is patience. You've got to be patient. Things don't happen overnight. We saw that. I saw that in my time at Wigan. It does take time. It takes a significant amount of investment, albeit you don't have to spend the levels that some do in this level. I think we can get away with being a lot cleverer and smarter over the next couple of years, and hopefully we'll see the success off the back of that. But I think the relationship between chairman, manager, chief executive manager is the key in any football club. If they all, between the three of them, get on, or the four of them in our case, and we all sing from the same hymn sheet, then we've got a good chance. We can't make sort of rash decisions off the back of certain games. You've got to have a long-term plan. No good football club just chops and changes all the time, and that's what we want to do here.
Let's take our next question, which comes from Ruby, who's a defender for the Under-9 Stags girls team, and it's for Nigel.
My dad is my coach, just like your dad was your coach. Did you like your dad coaching you day in and day out?
Ruby, that's a very interesting question. Not always, no, and it's going to be very tricky for you, I think, with your dad being the coach as well. But never forget that he's your dad, first of all, and sometimes he'll maybe say things to you that he doesn't say to the other players. But when your dad's the coach, you have to take that sometimes. But enjoy it. Enjoy the fact that you'll be working with your dad, and accept the fact it won't be easy, because it certainly isn't. But as long as your teammates know that you're a good player and you're doing the best for the team, then everything will be fine. So enjoy it.
Did your dad treat you any differently then to the other players when you were at Forest?
Yeah, I think so. Usually worse, but that was what you had to accept. Yeah. So never got called by my name. That was one thing.
Even at home?
Well, at home now and again, yeah, because I still lived at home probably a little bit too long. But yeah, at home it was different. But when he's in a dressing room full of professionals, and all they want to know is the professionals is, can you help them get 3 points on a Saturday? And if you can prove that to them, then they'll accept you. But that's the biggest hurdle you've got to get over.
And was family time, or did your dad talk about football with you at home?
No, it was mainly family time. We'd discuss it now and again, but it was mainly family time, and it was separate. My brother had a team on a Sunday afternoon as well, so once we'd played on a Saturday, we went down, watched him or whatever, and sometimes even played as well. So we talked more about that game on a Sunday night than we did about the one from the previous day.
Let's take our next question from Ellie Marshall.
Hi, my name's Ellie Marshall. I play for Mansfield Town Ladies First Team. This is a question for you, Nigel. What traits, if any, do you think you have taken into your own management role from your father?
Well, first of all, to try and not copy him and be like him, because nobody ever will be, but to try and take the sort of principles from him, and I think the way that you treat the players is most important, and try and have an empathy at times with the players. My dad was the best at realising when a player or a team had given absolutely everything, didn't quite work out, and then you were treated, sometimes you'd lose on a Tuesday night and you'd get 2 days off, even despite having lost the game, because he realised that everybody had given everything, get away for a couple of days and then come back in ready for Friday. Other times we once won the League Cup final, and we were in the next day running because he didn't think we'd played very well. So we got straight back from Wembley in on the Sunday morning or whenever it was, and did a running session because he didn't think we'd done our jobs well enough. So, and to be honest with the players, that's just being honest with the players. So providing the players with a degree of honesty. Some of them will accept that, some won't. But I think that's the main thing, be honest with the players.
One now for you both from Sharon from our Mansfield Town ladies team.
If you could pick your favourite football moment in your career, what would it be? And a question for David is, if you could be a chairman of any football team, which would it be and why?
Oh, favourite football moment? Well, it's two different things, because playing is by far the most pleasurable thing you'll do in football. And once you stop playing, everything's not as good from there. You do get your highs as managers, but you get some incredible lows as well. So I think as a player, probably playing for Liverpool, playing for Forest for 9 years under my dad was incredible. Winning our first League Cup in '89 or whenever it was, so many years ago at Wembley, and scoring a couple of goals, certainly that with Forest, and then going to Liverpool and being able to have the privilege and pleasure to play at Anfield for 2 or 3 seasons. That was very special indeed.
I thought you were going to say getting appointed by the Stags.
I hope the best is to come. Hope the best is to come.
Favourite club that I'd want to be chairman of? Wigan's, my boyhood club. I've already lived that dream. I guess I'd say I saw what Daniel Levy at Spurs has earned in the last 10 years, so I'll probably say Tottenham. I think he earned something like 40 million over the last 10 years or 20 years. Yeah, so I'd say Tottenham.
We're in the wrong job.
The wrong level. Next question, let's hear again from Sue Cooper from Mansfield Woodhouse. Sue.
Note to do it Stags at all. Though if you had 15 minutes to interview any player, past or present, who would it be and what question would you ask? I'm going to share mine. I'd love to interview Zidane and ask him what really happened that caused him to headbutt Materazzi that game, and how he felt when he got red carded. That would be my question. So guys, from a lifelong Stags fan, keep it up. Love them to death. I'll always follow them. Answer me questions if you can. Cheers.
Thanks, Sue. That's a tricky one. When you think back of all the great people in football over many years, maybe somebody, I don't know, I was thinking back to England in 1966, speaking to Sir Alf Ramsey, and looking on now over 50 years later when England haven't won anything in that time, to sort of put that into perspective of what he achieved in 1966, and maybe some of the players from around that time as well, to win the World Cup as they did. Then you think you'd probably go on and win another trophy, a European Championship or something, but 50 odd years later, 55 years later, we still haven't achieved it. So somebody, I think, from that era, but putting in perspective what they did.
Probably he wasn't an amazing player, but by any stretch, but he's had an unbelievable managerial career. Jose Mourinho, just I hang on every word he says. I think when he interviews, he can't wait to see what he's got to say. So yeah, Jose would be an incredible guy to sit down with and pick his brains.
Written question for Nigel from Shelley Mercer, who's in Sutton in Ashfield. What aspects of football do you get most excited about, and what makes a good footballer in your opinion?
That's the second bit first, answer that bit. It's a mix, it's a package that has to be made up, and more I think these days it's about mental strength and dealing with the setbacks that you get with being a professional footballer. When you lose games, when you get injured, things don't go well for you, whatever, how you react to those will probably be the most defining thing of your career. Everybody's great when things go well, but what you like when things don't go for you. So that's a big part of the overall package of making up a good footballer. Get excited about young players coming through. Jason Law at the moment, he's 21, he's not a 17, 18-year-old, but seeing young players who've come through the academy and then sort of fulfilling a dream and playing for the first team and playing a part and a role, and seeing them become accepted by the first team and the senior players. I think we all had to do that once, and it's a big part of it. So I think that's lovely when a young player comes through.
Let's take our next question from Evie.
Do you think there will ever be mixed gender football teams professionally? Certainly,
I wouldn't be. I mean, even as of last couple of weeks, Wimbledon were getting linked with a female manager candidate, and so that's the way the game is going. Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised. I'll let Nigel, that you manage the teams.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. I don't think it'll be for the foreseeable future, but certainly I think we'll see more female coaches, and the rise of women's football and the profile of that has been wonderful. So just have to wait and see.
One for Nigel from the Stags ladies skipper Monica Bowley now.
The girls and ladies section of the football is growing more and more. Do you have any advice for the younger players to be the best they can be, whether it's on a game day or a training session?
Thanks, Monica. We've just been referring to the rise of the ladies' game and girls' football as well. My daughter used to play at school and then on a Saturday morning as well. So I think it's absolutely wonderful that it's getting a raised profile and that. I think they've got to sort of look, as we tell our young players, look at what the best players do, either in the women's game, the men's game, and try and replicate what they do on and off the pitch. And that's the best way for them to become the best they can in training, work hard in training, and dedication and all those sorts of things, just the same, and then you'll be the best you can on a match.
Question for you both from Adrian Keeter now.
What is it like being a CEO on a day-to-day basis? And my question for Nigel is, how's it been at the club for the first few months? What's the general atmosphere in the camp? And what do you plan? What are your targets and aspirations for the months ahead before the end of the season?
Yeah, the first few months of my time as CEO I haven't really seen the club in true effect, because we're going through the middle of a pandemic still. I've not seen a supporter in the stands as of yet. A lot of the staff are sort of still on furlough, so it's been mainly the football side that's been operational since I've been here. So that's why I've sort of been putting my focus and time into. I wasn't a chief exec when I was at Wigan. I was the chairman, and we had an FD and a chief exec that I work closely with. So this is a new role for me, but so far I've loved it. I've loved every bit of it. And let's see where it takes us. We'll have hopefully a good end to the season, and then see what we do in the summer, and hopefully we can give our supporters something to cheer when they're all back in, and things are slowly back to normal again. But certainly think right now the role's been one that I thoroughly enjoyed, but still yet to see this club actually how it is with supporters on a match day and hospitality running, etc. So yet to see what the true effects of being a chief exec is like.
It's been a very encouraging first few months. We've had some highs and lows on the pitch, certainly, but I think the performance has generally been good. We brought 4 or 5 new staff in. I think we should improve things around the training ground as well, and the players generally have responded well to what we've asked them to do. So we're going to keep doing that. The aim's still the same: survive the best way we can, if that's halfway up the league or whatever, for this season. Try and get a pattern sort of established of how we're going to play. Let's establish who we need for next season from the current squad, and then have a good transfer window in the summer and get ready for next season.
Let's take our next question from Joe Beckwith.
My question to you both is, what has been your most positive moment since joining the club, but also what has been your biggest challenge to date?
Most positive, convincing this man to come to the Stag, to be a Stag, to be our manager. It was a big moment for this football club. I'd only been here a short space of time, but you do want to put your sort of own stamp on the club, and I think now we've got a team of staff around us that I feel sort of we've all been on this page since day one, and we've all got the same objectives. So yeah, that was a big moment. I'm not going to say last night's win or the win against Salford, because it's a 46-game season, so you're gonna have good wins in and throughout the season. But yeah, a big moment for this football club's future was convincing Nigel to come here. Hopefully, it didn't take much convincing, but no, it was that was a big moment.
Yeah, just winning some games. When you come in and you inherit a football team that hasn't won for what, was it 14 games, something like that?
Yeah, get in there,
yeah, then to start winning games lifts everybody's spirits. And we've had generally, I think, a brilliant run. I think our form suggests we would have been close to the playoffs if we'd have started the season after those games, which is very encouraging. But just winning football matches is the best thing that we can do for the club, the supporters and everybody. We had the great run of 5 consecutive victories, dropped away a bit, the momentum that we lost with the weather and everything else, but we're trying to pick that back up now.
Let's move on now to off-field matters, a section mostly for David, therefore. And let's start by getting a question about commentary rights from Ernie, who's in Blidworth. Ernie.
My question goes out to Mansfield 103.2 radio. My question is, if Notts Forest, Notts County, Derby County can make a full commentary on their matches, why can't Mansfield Town?
Yeah, thanks for the question. It's obviously been a strange season with the pandemic and BBC, etc., over radio stations not allowing certain members of their staff to travel to away games. So hopefully from next season, when things are back to normal, we all hope, that will change, and there should be full match commentary. Steve, you'll know as much as me on this area. So.
Yeah, probably important to say as well that Mansfield 103.2 were given the rights to do home commentaries, and that's because the iFollow subscriptions are really significant to the club in terms of finance away from home. So the chairman did grant, right at the start of the season, Mansfield 103.2 to do home commentaries. However, they decided to not utilise that option, so the club could earn more money overall on the iFollow service. So I think that's an important point to make.
Yeah. Can I just point out on iFollow as well? It's we're so thankful for all the fans that have been subscribing every game, home and away. The numbers have been very good. I've already had the numbers from last night's game, and very positive numbers on iFollow. It is performance based mainly. When you look throughout the season, we get a lot of subscribers after a good win, and they dip off if we've lost a couple. So that's how it's been. But generally, it's been very positive, and it's been a huge amount of income to this football club that we've very much needed in difficult moments.
And speaking about iFollow, let's now hear from Jeff Barnes in London.
First and foremost, I just think it's fantastic that you two guys are running things at Mansfield now. I think it gives us a great opportunity for some really good success over the next few seasons. So looking forward to supporting that as much as I can. I've got a question for each of you, if that's okay. Firstly, David, I've been able through iFollow during the pandemic to basically see every single Stags match, which has been great. I normally only get to about half a dozen home games and away games down in the south during a normal season. And I just wondered whether there was any thought when the pandemic is over and things are back to as normal as they're going to be, whether there's any chance that the iFollow thing will continue to give people like me the opportunity to watch more games than I would normally do.
Yeah, Jeff, unfortunately that's out of our control to a degree. It's the EFL that will determine that, and the government ultimately, in terms of if away supporters, if supporters can be in our ground, if away supporters can go to games. So hopefully it does stay in place, because it is a great service for people that aren't local to the area and struggle to get to away games or home games. So hopefully it stays in place, but there's not much I can commit to on it right now until we know more about the return of fans and away fans, etc. There's a lot of things that we have to learn about over the summer, but hopefully it stays in place. But that's the EFL's decision with every football club, not just ours.
Got another question for David via email. Nathan Marples from Langworth, who asks, all clubs like to say that they are value for money as season tickets are normally worked out to £16 per home game. Will the club be offering season ticket holders from this season a refund or discount on next season's season tickets like they did this season? iFollow tickets for matches are at £10, so will this be something the club will be offering?
Yeah, this is something we've had plenty of discussions about with the chairman, the co-chair, with people in-house at the football club, and we've looked at what we can do and how we can, because the fans, the season ticket holders that we've had this season have been so loyal to us. They've not been able to get to a game this season, and like you say, there is a difference between the iFollow match per game and the season ticket full cost. So we've literally sat down on several occasions to discuss what we can do to reward those season ticket holders, and hopefully we'll have something to announce in the next sort of week or so about what we're going to do. We're looking at a third kit for next season, which will have every season ticket holders from this season's name on, and we'll also gift that kit to the season ticket holder as well at the football club's cost, at the chairman's cost. So we feel that will go down as a good gesture. It's a one-off kit. We will wear it next season. It'll have your name on it or the season ticket holder's name on it. More than 1,500 names. So it'll be a really nice gesture and something obviously for hopefully the fans to treasure.
Similar question now from Ian Page in South Normanton. David, it's for you. Has the pricing structure for 2021-22 season tickets been sorted? If so, are there any provisions for early bird prices and pre-existing season ticket holder discounts / iFollow refunds regarding the current 2021 season, considering we, that is they, haven't attended any live games? So a similar question from before, David. Could you elaborate?
Yeah, on the structure for next season, we need to know more regarding what the government are going to announce. They have announced from a certain date all the restrictions will be lifted, but we still don't quite know if that is going to happen or not. We haven't been told much from the EFL as of yet. What we don't want to do is go on sale and then have to backtrack. So we want to wait till we know a lot more, whether away supporters are allowed in, because if they're not, that frees up a stand, whether we still have to socially distance, because what we don't want to do is sell 3,000 season tickets, let's just say, which will be a great number for us, and then only be allowed 2,000 in. So we want to wait till we know a lot more. The pricing structure is something that we're going through with the chairman and the board. So yeah, it's hopefully we'll have news to announce when we know a bit more from the government and from the EFL I'm on a call with the EFL tomorrow. Every League Two and League One and Championship club is, so we should know more. But I would say hopefully we announce something in the next 6 to 8 weeks. I would suggest, but there's plenty of time. The season won't start till the 7th of August. But ideally we get on sale with season tickets and for renewals as early as possible. But that may be from May onwards only when we know a bit more.
From London, Bernard Savage wants to know about match programmes.
I've noticed that a number of clubs in the second division, certainly Harrogate Town, Colchester United and Leyton Orient, to name 3 off the top of my head, have continued to produce programmes this season. I think this is a great way of staying connected with fans and also an opportunity to promote things like season tickets for next year. So the question is, could this be something that Stags do for avid programme collectors like myself for the latter games this season, as a way of both generating revenue for the club, but also staying connected and promoting season tickets for next season? Thank you.
Yeah, it's something we've discussed. And there's obviously varying sort of views on programmes. Some like yourself collect them. Some don't bother buying them at all. So we're sort of at an in between. We'll decide what we want to do. We do want to continue with programmes. I was listening to somebody talk about they were doing digital programmes at another football club, and I think there was a minimal amount of people that I think you told me.
Very poor.
Yeah, the uptake was very poor.
That was in the Championship.
So for the amount of work that goes in all week to producing that, the uptake in that digital programme must have been quite disheartening to the people that had put that together. So it's something we did look at. We won't be doing anything between now and the end of the season. However, of course, from next season, hopefully when fans are back in, things will return back to normal. And how the programme is done might change. We might tweak it a bit. It's something that's conversations we've been having. So, but hopefully, yeah, you'll be able to read them still.
Liam Palmer now wants to know more about the developments on the Bishop Street side of the ground.
Recently, the chairman and Caroline have been mentioning about the old Bishop Street stand, regarding possibly rebuilding that, or having an hotel built on the side of the Quarry Lane end. What are your plans for that, please?
Yeah, I'm just actually looking at it now, and we lost about 6 balls over there last night, I think, didn't we? So certainly, we want to improve the stand. Whether certain aspects we're looking at it for the summer, i.e. the big screen that we don't get the best use out of, and I think that we're constantly trying to get it on, and it doesn't seem to come on. So we want to improve how it visually looks. It's very much up to John and Carolyn whether they want to build a whole new stand. It's obviously very costly. The hotel the same. Is it the right time to start talking about something like that? I'm not too sure. Potentially, if the club achieves success and we move to a high division in future, then it might be something they'll look at. But I couldn't push them right now to say it's a good idea to build a new hotel and a new stand. We'll hopefully improve the visual aspect of it and have it looking a bit smarter than it currently does, and that's a project for the summer.
You mentioned there, David, about the scoreboard. What do you plan to do with that? I mean, do you see this one as being here at this moment in time for some years, or could there be a possibility of scrapping that one and getting a new one in, a more modern version?
One that works, yeah, it would be.
Because you can't play video or anything on this one at the moment.
No, you can't, and I've not seen it on. It would have been nice to see the score last night on it. You don't sometimes like to see the scoreboard when you're losing, so potentially in the future we could look at a new screen in the corner, which shows obviously replays. You see them at a lot of grounds now, Championship and Premier League mainly. So that's something that we could look at. I was actually watching the Wimbledon highlights last night. They played Burton, and they've got a small screen in the corner. So we put one at Wigan as well. So it's something we could do. There's obviously quite a large cost to that. As far as this current scoreboard is there, it looks quite a big one to try and move, to be honest with you. So we may, if it's not going to work, I think we could have better use of covering it up with advertising, rather than it just being a big black screen. If we could sort of utilise the space better, that's something that we're looking at for the summer. Yeah.
And an email for David from Tim Boscall in Mansfield. Can you tell the fans if there has been any work carried out or improvements made to the stadium or fan experience?
There's not, to be honest with you, a lot of the staff have been on furlough, rightly so, because the club is, and every football club, every business is not in the best of places at the moment. So we've not had loads of people in to try and make it better. We obviously won away fan experience of the year last year, so we're doing things very well, and the staff here are doing a great job. Danielle, Tina, etc., Laura, they do great at what they do. So we'll always continue to improve. Certainly we want to try and improve aspects of the stadium, how it looks visually, cleanliness of it, for when supporters are back in, to make it as an enjoyable experience as possible. But at the end of the day, I think we all love when we win, and last night it would have been great to have the supporters in. The place would have been rocking in those 10 minutes, just like when we beat Salford as well. Would have been. I'm yet to see how this place is when we've got supporters in. Nigel's yet. I think you've probably come scouting here, haven't you? But
Yes.
I'm yet to see it.
We've had a number of questions about the pitch following recent home postponements, and so earlier today I spoke to head groundsman Michael Merriman, and I began by asking him to explain the problems he's experienced this season with the playing surface.
But basically it starts from the summer. We had no renovation work done, obviously due to COVID coming in, not knowing whether we were playing or not. So last summer we was due to have the top taken off, which is a process called corrode off. So you strip all the rubbish out of the top, all the dead grasses and all the shallow rooting grasses. Then we was having it turned over, which basically rotivating it up to get some oxygen back in there and allow the water to percolate through it. Obviously that got hit on the head because we didn't know if we were going to be playing or not, to be fair. So we gambled with it. We knew it was a big gamble. We knew what was going to happen. But obviously then we didn't expect the winter we had as well to add to it all.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, what factors have led to the postponements?
Just the pure compaction of the ground. You walk around with a fork and try and put a fork in it and you nearly break your wrist because of the fibre sand we had put in, which then means we have to have the renovation works every season, not turned over every year, but maybe every 2 to 3 years, have it turned over again. Just to get the compaction out, because it is sand based basically, and with the polypropylene fibres in there, it makes it really firm.
You'll no doubt have seen all sorts of comments on the pitch online in recent weeks and months, one of which is about the drainage. Can you just expel that myth that there's an issue with the drainage?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the drainage side of the pitch. We've got plastic drains in there. When we had the pitch done 3-4 seasons ago, we had some extra ones put in, so we've got plastic drainage in every 3 yards across the pitch. So there's nothing wrong with the drainage side. It can't actually get to the drains. Once it's got to the drains, it comes out brilliantly, but just can't get there.
And heading forward, how are you looking to get the pitch back to the state in which it was, because it's been excellent for so many seasons?
Well, like I said before, the work we was going to have done last season, well, hopefully we was going to have done, we're definitely having done this season, pitch turned over, but this time round we're having more fibre sand put in, 130 tonne. We're having 130 tonne of pure sand, of Mansfield sand going in, so all that's going to help on the drainage side, keep the pitch open, obviously reseeded, so we'll have all nice new ryegrass in there instead of all the mixed up horrible stuff we don't want in there.
And finally, I understand you've got a new bit of kit from the Stag Supporters Association.
Yeah, up at the training ground, we've got a 𝘆cie𝘂𝗿, which is a 5-gang mower. So basically, you can cut a pitch one way in probably half an hour. As you see on the match days, we cut with the small mowers. So obviously, there's a lot of grass up there, so it gets the work done quicker, more efficient. So happy days, yes. Thank you very much to them.
David, would you like to add to what Maz has said?
Yeah, I think. Listen, I wasn't here last March when lockdown came, but it wasn't official that the season was ending until very late in the summer. The championship obviously played through June and July. through lockdown. We weren't sure until very late about League One and League Two, so you didn't want to rip up the pitch and for it to be sand for then a week later to be found out football's coming back and you've got to play your game. So it was the club and the directors and the staff must have been put in a difficult place trying to make a decision. But ultimately, we'll get through this season. Yes, it's not been perfect, but I think a lot of clubs have had trouble. I've seen plenty of clubs in the Championship. Even Leeds United they've had to buy a new pitch from Tottenham. So Derby Counties wasn't the best when I saw it. Newport had to play at Cardiff last night. So certainly, it's just not an issue in Mansfield. I think the weather's been horrendous. Let's be honest. Moving forward, how we're going to improve it. That's the main thing. What's the solution? And we were on a call with John and the board, Mark and Steve, and we're spending a hell of a lot of money this summer. Well, John is the co-chair, the chairman, and the co-chair are spending a lot of money putting the pitch right here and at the training ground as well. So we want to have the best playing services possible for Nigel and the team, whether that's up at the training ground or whether that's down here. And I'm sure after the work that's commencing, I think we're starting on the training ground on the 22nd of March, and we're starting here on the 3rd of May after I think it's after Oldham we play on the Saturday. So hopefully by July the 31st, August the 7th, the pitch will be perfect, and that should see us through the tough months of November, December, January. Every pitch will look great in the summer, and in August and September, it's the tough months when it's like the weather is today.
How important will that work be for you and the players, Nigel?
Oh, it'll be vital at the training ground as well. We only come here for 23, 24 games, so the training surfaces is just as important. But we've got nothing but sympathy for Mez and his team for the weather that we've had, and because of the pandemic. And it's all, like David said, it's all throughout the country. There's a lot of pitches struggling and a lot of grounds we've worked unbelievably hard in the last 6 months or so.
Let's talk more about football now and head back to Jeff Barnes in London.
If at the beginning of next season, with good pre-season training and some movement in the transfer market, I think you'll hope to be somewhere near 100% ready to push for promotion for next season. If that's the case, what percentage would you say you are at the moment here in early March? Hope you have a good rest of the season and look forward to seeing you all in person sometime next season. Bye for now.
That's a question for you, Nigel.
Yeah, it's difficult to assess a percentage. We know roughly where we are, that we can beat anybody in the league and we can lose to anybody in the league as well. That's both a statement of where we are as a team and also the standard of the league, where it's extremely even, and I don't think there's any standout team that's going to run away with it. But we're assessing the squad as we go along, trying to win games at the same time, and seeing who we need around for next season. There'll definitely be player movement in the summer, 5, 6, 7 arrivals, something like that. And I think then we'll know a little bit more about our chances depending on those arrivals. But if you want to try and put a percentage on it, we're probably about 50% at the moment, something like that. But you need an awful lot of things to go in your favour, I think, to get promoted out of any league.
Another question from the capital. Jonathan Friel asks, Nigel, how long do you think it'll be before you can call this squad your squad? And what sort of football will it play?
Well, hopefully we're going to play the same sort of football as we've seen in patches and glimpses of some games already this season. We want to play winning football first of all, but we want to play good football. We try and attack home and away as much as we can. We try and be positive. We take the game to the opposition. With times when we're going to have to defend and the opposition are going to have the ball. But generally speaking, we want to go forward and play as positively as we can. I don't like the phrase your squad. I don't like the phrase my players and all this sort of thing. The Mansfield Town players, it's a Mansfield Town squad. But hopefully they'll take on some of the characteristics that we're looking for. And they've already shown, as I say, not all the time, but certainly in enough times to be encouraging.
From South Normanton in Page has emailed into us, and Nigel, he asks, which one thing do you feel that we are lacking and would love to add to the squad? And what one thing do we already have that will move us forward?
I don't think there's any one particular thing that we are lacking. We just need a few things. I think we need to be better in both penalty areas. First of all, in an attacking sense, and then certainly defending our own goal. That's been the major two things. I think the one thing we've got the nucleus of a good squad, especially in the midfield area. So that is one area that I think will help us next season, and we won't need to do too much work on. But both penalty areas to improve on.
Fraser Faulkner has got a question for you both.
The Radfords are exceptional owners and have made no secret of wanting to get Mansfield Town into the Championship. Nigel, you're clearly a long-serving, loyal manager, so what is your realistic 5-year plan for Mansfield Town? And David, finding ourselves in the situation we're in with the COVID and low income, along with all the other clubs in the country, what reassurances can you give Nigel and us, the fans, that Nigel will get the backing that he needs to fulfil his 5-year plan?
Thanks, Fraser. Very interesting when people talk about 5-year plans in football management when the average tenure is about 13 months, I think 14 months. But it'd be nice to think we'll get the opportunity to build good solid foundations and give us the best chance for success going forward. We just plan sort of season to season really. We're doing everything we can, first of all, to survive this season in the best possible shape, and then put a squad together to challenge for next season. If it doesn't happen, then hopefully we'll get the opportunity to have a go the season after that. But the big picture is what we'll look at. Are we improving? And there's been quite a few teams, I think, in League Two. We talk about Forest Green that hopefully will go up this year. They've been knocking on the door for 4 or 5 years and building, and I think that's the sort of thing. Some people do it at the first opportunity. Some it takes a few seasons, and I think we've all got to be patient if necessary. Hope we can get up next season, but if not, we've got to be patient and say, are we going in the right direction? And trying to achieve it in some point in the near future.
Yeah, on the reassurances and the backing from the Radfords, listen, there's never been a doubt about the chairman and the co-chair's ambition for this football club. They publicly have told people, and that remains, that they're very ambitious. They love this football club. They want to see this football club in a good place, and I think they deserve the success. So it's ultimately it's down to Nigel, myself, all the staff at this football club to try and reward them. It will take time, one step at a time. Like Nigel said, Forest Green have been knocking on the door. Cheltenham have had Michael Duff there for quite a while now, and it takes 3, 4, 5 windows before you start to see the team that. I know Nigel mentioned your team, Mansfield's team, but it does take a lot of planning and a lot of good business, and also bad business. Bad business can hurt you, and it takes a long time to recover. Sometimes I was at Wigan. We had a terrible window after we got relegated from the Premier League, and it took us 3 or 4 years before we actually got back to square one again. So it will take time, but the John and Carolyn remain as ambitious as ever. Yes, it's been a difficult year, but you've seen their ambition is still there. They've still put in significant amounts of money this season to obviously to back the manager, to bring in players, whether it be summer, January, and that will remain from summer onwards. So all things positive as far as I'm concerned.
Question for Nigel now about personal goals, and it comes from James Radford in Sheffield.
Nigel, do you set any personal goals ever in your career as a manager? And if you do, have you set any goals for Mansfield and where you want to take the club in the next few seasons?
Thanks, James. I don't set personal goals because everything's linked to the club, really. My goals are Mansfield's goals. We, and it's a we, it's not an I or whatever. We want to get promoted at some point in the foreseeable future. So that's it, to survive this season, because when we came in it was a relegation threatened season. We're still not safe yet, so we're trying to achieve that in the next few weeks, and then try and have a good transfer window in the summer and start the season afresh and try and get up there from the start and challenge if we can. But it's no personal goals, just team goals and club goals. Let's achieve success.
Paul Murphy has written to us via email. Nigel, do you value both financially and emotionally an FA Cup run alongside a promotion challenge?
Yeah, definitely. We're great believers that they go hand in hand. Winning games is a very good habit, cup games, league games or whatever, and we've always put great stock in the FA Cup. It's a brilliant competition anyway, but the financial rewards at anything below, I think, the Premier League and maybe the top of the Championship, I think the financial rewards are significant, and I think supporters love a cup run as well. We were very, very disappointed to lose at Cheltenham, you know. We thought we should have won down there, which would have resulted maybe in a Manchester City game here. Things like that, I think, provide great memories for supporters and can be done if you've got the squad and you've got no injuries, and can be done alongside a good league run as well.
Jack Hardman from Lincoln has a question for you both.
What is both of your future ambitions with Mansfield Town Football Club through the first team and through the youth team structure? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jack. Well, mine's primarily the first team, to do everything that we can to be successful and get the club in a position to challenge for promotion, still survival this season, and then get some few new players in and try and challenge. Overall, we try and oversee the academy a little bit and give them every bit of support we can in terms of bringing players through, but that's primarily our aims in the next few months.
Yeah, just to improve in every area we can possibly improve in, which there's no ceiling for that. You can always get better no matter what division you're in. So yes, there's the first team, which Nigel's in charge of, is obviously that everybody looks to results. It's a very results driven industry. However, there's more to it than that. We've got to make sure things behind the scenes are running smoothly. The academy, it's great to see a player in the first team now, and Jason Law. However, we need one of those a year. We need two of those a year. It's quite a demanding ask, but we need that as a football club. We want to see our own academy players coming through, but at the same time they've got to be good enough, because if the ambition is to get promoted one day, the players have to be good enough, and you can't just throw boys in that aren't ready. So ultimately, yeah, we want to improve in every area: stadium, academy, football side, first team side. So, and I do think we'll do that. So I'm confident, but like I said, we might lose on Saturday. We can't think it's the end of the world. It's got to be a gradual process, and eventually we'll get there.
Bob Hallam from Cheshire has sent us this email. The academy has been running for quite some time now without really impacting the first team. That is he, fears the management will not want to continue funding the academy structure if there is no progression to the first team. What is your opinion on this, and what can or is being done to address this? Nigel.
The main thing with academies is you have to be patient. You have to give the staff, Richard Cooper and his staff, the time, 4 or 5 years to produce players. We've gone up a category, we've got the training ground the last couple of years, everything's good, set up, but just producing young players takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. You don't just get players in your system. You have to produce them, you have to work on them from sort of 10, 11 years old, and that in itself will take 8, 9 years before you get a player ready. Sometimes you'll get lucky. Jason Law's been at the club 5, 6 years and he's now just broken into the first team, but has come through the academy. So the biggest thing with it is patience. I think we've got the good people in our academy who will produce the players given the time.
David, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I agree. Patience. It does take many a year, and we have to remember we're surrounded by Nottingham Forest, Derby County, Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday. So, Norwich and Southampton, they have good academies, but it's more down to their location more than anything. They have a great catchment area. Here we're surrounded by some huge football clubs, and we are going to lose out on players. Some of our kids are going to move to those clubs. It happens. We were the same at Wigan. Man United, City would come and poach the best ones. It happens. They've got a tough job, Coops and the staff within the academy. But if you give them 4 or 5 years, let's judge them after that rather than judge them every season. Let's give it time. With the facilities and with what we've got in place, things should be good. But it does take time, like Nigel said.
Email in for Nigel Clough from Robin Easterling in Mansfield Woodhouse. He writes, I'm interested in the eye you have for new talented players. Who have been the most satisfying to see develop?
The youngsters that come through, as we talked about earlier. I think when you see them coming through the academy at sort of 16, 17, and then you integrate them into the first team, I think at Derby, the likes of Will Hughes and Jeff Hendrick, to see them become Premier League players is very satisfying, because they've got some ability and some talent, and to see them fulfil that, and in Jeff's case an international as well, is great, because at 15, 16, there was a doubt about them whether we're going to keep them on or not. And we always have a saying, well, if we're not sure, give them another year just in case. And then some surprise your late developers. So I think the youngsters coming through are the best.
Question again from Sue Cooper for both of you.
Clearly you both enjoy challenges, or else you wouldn't be with us. Nigel, you came to Stags when they weren't in a necessarily good position, both league and in their whole demeanour, I suppose. And David, you stepped into the shoes of Carolyn, and obviously have the skills to do excellent business and with quick turnaround and such. So guys, my question is, what challenges are you looking for at Mansfield Town, utilising those skills and experiences, please?
As far as challenges are concerned, I don't want to look for challenges. The least challenges you have, the better. But we do have challenges. So every day something throws up something different in football. You can't predict what the next day is going to bring. Obviously, Nigel, from the first team point of view, one day the team's perfect, the next day they have 3 injuries. It throws up plenty of challenges. From my point of view, this season's been a challenge in terms of COVID, the pandemic, no fans, lack of income. So that's been a major challenge. Trying to navigate through my way and our way through the salary cap is something that's now been scrapped. That was tough, and I've become an expert in it, and I know every little ins and out of it. I feel like I've wasted 6 months, to be honest with you. So there's plenty of challenges, but yeah, the least challenges, the better, and ultimately that means we'll be in a better place.
Same on the football side. The less challenges for us, the better it is. But there's always plenty. But the challenges is just to work with good people, work for a good club, and try and make it a success for everybody involved.
Let's take a question now from Ellie Marshall.
What's the realistic aim for Maxwell Town, both short term and long term?
Short term, it's like Nigel said, it's just to try and pick up some wins between now and the end of the season, get to a safe place, get to 50 points, I guess, is probably the next target that Nigel will say. So that's the short term, but that's for the management and the players to discuss and set themselves. Long term, of course, it's to be in a better place on and off the pitch. How that looks, if we can get to League One, but it's not straightforward. It doesn't just happen by saying it. It might take a year, it might take 2, it might take 3. But if the building blocks are in place, if we can improve next season on what we did this season, if it doesn't end with the promotion, then don't just rip everything up and start again. Let's just keep building on it. So that would be how I view things. If we can in 3 or 4 years' time be sat here in a high division, but also with the club in a better place off the pitch as well, whether it be academy, stadium improvements, then that will be my long-term ambition for this football club.
Monica Bowley has a question about the environment which you've created, Nigel.
We've seen a massive improvement since your arrival at Mansfield Town Football Club. What have you changed mentally or physically within the players' environment to get them where they are today?
Thanks, Monica. We've tried to create an atmosphere at the training ground that's conducive to them being successful and being relaxed and wanting to come and looking forward to come to work in the morning. I think that's one of the most important things in any job. You have to look forward to actually going to your place of work. So hopefully the players are doing that now, and also I think physically they're working as hard as they did before. They might be getting a little bit more time off with all the games that we're having, but say that if you put that physical effort in, you will get a little bit of time off, and that will be your reward. Everything, we don't train for hours on end as well, but when we do train, they train hard, they train properly, and then you get your rest. And the same in games. It's a long season, you play 46 league games plus the cups. You're into 55 games maybe plus pre-season. To physically and mentally stay fresh for all of that is a difficult challenge. So the players, you need to get that work sort of time off balance right.
Question about finances now from David Graham in Ollerton.
How has the COVID-19 situation of having no fans in the ground for over 12 months impacted on the club's financial situation? Also, bearing in mind that the pandemic will now last until next season, are the clubs sound financially? And finally, as the new owners now reside in Portugal, is the medium to long-term future of the club safe? Thank you.
Regarding finances this season, yes, it's been difficult. We've had the rescue package money from the Premier League, which we're very, very grateful for, which has gone a long way. We've had the iFollow revenue, which has been very significant, and will continue to sort of grow between now and the end of the season. We sold a couple of players in the summer, Danny Rose and 𝘆cie𝗂𝗿, which certainly helped. We've reduced the wage bill, which certainly I've only been here in sort of 10 months or so, but I've looked at previous wage bills over the last 4 or 5 years, and this is the slimmest wage bill we've had, so that certainly helped reduce cost. Furlough, of course, every business has utilised that if they can. But it's been tough. Not going to lie, it's been tough. But we're in a good place, mainly due to the fact that John and Carol in Radford. Every football club really does rely on their owner, or their owners putting in cash every month, and this football club is no different. But if we manage it properly, so they don't have to put in as much as they would normally do, then that's what we'll continue to do. Regarding the future, John and Carolyn are very happy in Portugal. I think they love it there, but it doesn't change their ambition for this football club. They watch every game. They try and get back as much as possible, of course. But I get a text after every game, win, lose or draw. Sometimes the length of the text depends on the win, loss or the draw. But no, they're very supportive as much as, and I catch up with them every so often about major issues or about minor issues, and they're great owners to work for.
And just for clarity, just following up on what David said, the club is secure financially, is it?
Yeah, yes, very, yeah.
Follow-up question on finances from Craig Priest in Mansfield.
David, it's been a strange and unknown 12 months in the world in general, but I'm interested to know what challenges the clubs face from a business perspective, and how do you impact the constant change in possible dates for fans returning, and of course the subsequent revenue streams that can bring has had on the club. And also, as a result of that, how has your own approach to your own role changed in terms of making sure the stability of the club is kept intact?
Yeah, it's been quite a topsy-turvy season, because at times we thought fans were coming back, then we got told they weren't, so different stages throughout the season. However, the iFollow has always been there. The rescue package from the Premier League that was debated for quite a while when I was on all those calls, that certainly helped, and it's gone a long way. Minimising player costs as much as possible, but also still having the ambition, that's helped. But let's be honest, mainly every cost at the football club is player wages, and if we can control them, but also make sure money's spent well on the pitch with good players and assets, then that will see us in a good place. But yeah, it's been tough, but it's the same for every club up and down the country.
Got a question for you, David, from John Thorpe about our excellent training facility in 𝘆cie𝗂𝗿.
Having driven up to the Our-Age Academy recently and seen the training facility, I was absolutely amazed at the incredible opportunity our footballers have been provided with. There must be championship clubs with far less support systems. The build costs and ongoing operating costs must be really extreme. Given that investment, how do we intend to make full use of it? Does it really give real tangible benefits? And if so, David, how do we measure those benefits?
Very difficult to measure. I think we'll judge him for 4 or 5 years' time, to be honest with you. You can't, at the end of every season, you can't rip up the academy just because it's not produced a player. But the facilities are there. We've moved categories to category 3. So things are in place, but it will take time. It will cost money. But let's see how it looks in 4 or 5 years. The main thing is getting players in the team that are good enough, and we've got one in the team now, and hopefully that will continue over the next 3 to 4 to 5 years, and then we'll judge it and we'll decide if it's working or not. But you can't just rip it up overnight if things aren't working and somebody's not in the team. You always have a golden generation in the academy that come through at the right time, like a load of buses that turn up at once. And that might be how it might be with our academy, that the under-16s might be the ones, and we've just got to wait 3 or 4 years. So let's give it time, and then we'll judge it over the next few years.
Let's go back to Craig Priest, who's got a question for both of you about the RH Academy, the club's training ground.
The RH Academy is a fantastic facility for League 2, possibly even League 1 and maybe even the Championship. But if you could make 2 changes each to the facility to enhance it further and help push the team on, what would they be and why? And also, on the back of that, would we be likely to see any of those changes in the near future?
On the football side for us, we're doing some work on the pitches this summer, as well as the stadium pitch, which will make them even better for when we come back pre-season training. So I think that's the main one. The buildings are wonderful, so the surfaces are going to be better. The only thing that would probably improve it from my point of view is the steps that go upstairs to the offices are metal at the moment, which means that the dog slips on the stairs and I have to carry her up. So next time we take a bit of carpet up at home, I'm going to bring it and put it on the steps just so the dog doesn't fall over on the steps.
Like Nigel said, it's the building's unbelievable for League 2. The pitches, we're improving them this summer, and hopefully they'll be even better than they are at the moment. To be honest, we need a coffee machine. I'm a big coffee drinker, and yeah, I can't drink the teaspoon from a Nescafe anymore. We need a proper coffee machine, so I'll even buy that myself. I won't ask John for that. So yeah, we need a good coffee machine.
You've both forgotten a media centre.
Oh, sorry, we thought you were quite happy here.
You like working outside, judging from today's TV. So.
Okay, let's head back to the emails now. Richard Dove from Kent writes, some excellent work and investment has created the RH Academy. When can we see young graduates of the Academy being given a chance with the first 11? We are short on strikers, he says. Why, for example, is Jimmy Knowles still on loan at Notts County when he could be making a valuable contribution to our matchday squad? Jason Law waited 5 years for his debut. Nigel, do you want to start answering that one?
Yeah, well, we've already, I think, discussed the academy and how we have to be patient with it. In terms of Jimmy Knowles, I went to see him play for Notts County in the trophy at Stockport. We had a discussion around him and didn't think that he was up to the standard that we were at the moment looking for. We've got Jamie Reid that we're absolutely delighted with, Jordan Bowery. We've brought 𝘆cie𝘂𝗿 in on loan, who unfortunately he's had a few niggles. We've got Tyrese Sinclair. And I think the best place at the moment for his development for Jimmy is to be at Notts County, and then we'll come back pre-season and we'll have a good look at him from there.
Your thoughts, David?
I think getting as many players out on loan as possible from the academy is something that we'll continue to see. We'll do it this summer. There might be boys that go out on loan that people think should be in the first team, but Nigel sees these players every day. He knows that who's up to it and who's not. A loan is very valuable for a player. 1 or 2 loans, 3 loans. Jason Law, it's taken 5 years to make his debut. He should have probably had a couple more loans, and he's had plenty of loans. So, but now he's ready, now he's in the team. But you'll continue to see players out on loan, whether it's Jimmy Knowles or not. That's the way. I think they'd learn a hell of a lot when they're out on loan, and that will continue. And they'll come back when they're ready. I'm sure Jimmy will have a pre-season with Nigel, and then he'll judge it after that.
Oliver Toon has sent an email in. Can you tell us why we've let strikers go out on loan to clubs in our league and fail to fill those places during the January transfer window? Will you be bringing Jimmy Knowles back to give him a shot? Touched about Jimmy Knowles there.
Yeah.
I take it we can't bring him back.
No, it was only a recall in January, and then he's there for the rest of the season, which is fine. That's where he's getting some valuable experience. We haven't been short of strikers, I don't think, so far. We had probably too many of them, and we had Andy Cook and Nicky Maynard, who weren't starting regularly. They were just getting sort of little cameos here and there. So we've got to be fair to them as well. We wanted to really have a good look at Jamie Reid and Jordan Bowery. And when I sat down and talked to the 2 players, they both said we want to go out and we want to start and play regularly. So it's difficult to, you can be very selfish and say, oh, we'll keep you for 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. But we want to try and develop a partnership with Jamie Reid and Jordan Bowery. And looking at them last night, they're starting to forge one.
And it didn't matter to you that they were going to clubs in the same league as Mansfield?
No, the main thing, we didn't want anybody going in who were relegation rivals, because that's what we've been fighting for the majority of the season. So no, they have to go where they wanted it. I don't think it wouldn't have been, I don't think they would have got probably League 1 clubs. So they've gone to other League 2 clubs. They can't play against us. So no, we want to be fair to those because they're 2 good lads.
A question for Nigel from Craig Priest now.
Nigel, you spent many a year as a manager, and I just wondered how much the game has changed and the role has changed since you first began, and for all, how your philosophy to coaching and management and that general approach has changed.
Thanks, Craig. It hasn't really changed that much. Yeah, there's a lot of things outside and on the periphery of football that have changed, but I think you're still working with players in a dressing room environment. You're still trying to get them to run through a brick wall for you on a Saturday afternoon and a Tuesday night. So how you go about that hasn't changed too much. I think you have to be aware probably that players are a little bit more fragile these days than they used to be. And I think one or two of the older managers and the old Sir Alex Ferguson hairdryer and things like that may not have the same effect on players, or may end up sort of destroying players a little bit more than it used to. They're not quite as strong as they were in the olden days. So that's had to be tempered a little bit, but the principles really have just stayed the same.
David Walsh has got a question for you, Nigel, on your pre-match routine.
Firstly, I'd like to say a big thank you for taking on the task of managing Mansfield Town Football Club. I realise that you can only use what you've got, but I believe that we are far too good to go down. My question to you is, I've always wondered, what do managers do before the start of a game? You often see the coaches and everything warming up with the players, but you don't see nothing of the manager. Are you upstairs with your feet up and a cup of tea? Good luck for the rest of the season and keep up the good work, and thank you once again.
Thanks for the question, David. Yeah, I'm upstairs with my feet up, but not with a cup of tea. You're just trying to catch up, collect your thoughts, sometimes do some paperwork, a few emails, watch a game if it's on telly, the lunchtime game or something like that. But you want to leave the players to sort of prepare and the coaches to get them ready from 2:15. We go down and see them, at 2 o'clock for 5 minutes. And then just before they go out, I don't think the players necessarily want the manager around for that 45 minutes. So just keep out the way and let them prepare. And also it's important for managers to prepare as well, to make sure your head's right come 3 o'clock.
Our next question comes from Sam Binch in Mansfield.
Hi Nigel, I wondered if you could explain the role of your assistant manager, Gary Crosby. He doesn't appear to be on the bench during games, and that seems a pretty unique approach. I was wondering if you could talk us through what his assignments are throughout the week.
Well, Gary takes care of, thanks for the question first of all, Gary takes care of an awful lot of things off that most people don't see, organisational wise and things like that. It's a bit unusual, as you say, but he goes out watching games on a Saturday. So there's myself and the first team coach Andy Garner, who just sort of goes upstairs a little bit and sits a few rows back to get a different perspective. But Gary's talents are best used out on the road on a match day watching games. He aids the recruitment massively. And then he watches our games back. He's obviously at training during the week, and then he can get a different view as well. Before the Cheltenham game, he was the one that came in on the Monday morning and said, "Shall we change formation and try something a little bit different?" Which we did, which worked. And sometimes from sitting back, you get a better perspective to do that sort of thing. Absolutely vital role that he takes on.
Another question now for the manager from Millie Rose.
How do you think your team has performed since you became manager?
Hi Millie, I think generally we've done very well. I think the players have, there's been a couple of exceptions. I didn't think we were Southend here at home. First half we weren't very good, Harrogate away in the second half we weren't very good. But generally I think the performances have been of a good consistent level. Disappointed with some decisions in both penalty areas. We should have scored more goals and we shouldn't have certainly conceded some that we have. But generally, I think it's been encouraging seeing that the players take on board the way that we want them to play.
An email question now from Kieran Dove in Mansfield for David. Looking back at the January transfer window, how much of a success for the club do you think that window was? And do you think you could have done more to secure signatures earlier in terms of new players, improving the team for the remainder of this season, but also with one eye on next season and preparing the basis of a squad so we don't have to make wholesale changes in the summer? Your response to that, David?
January is a horrible window. I hate it, to be honest with you. I don't think managers enjoy it either. It's very difficult to get deals done. Normally it's loan players, like we've seen. We've taken mainly loan players, and a couple of ours have gone out on loan. So it's very difficult. What we didn't want to do, I mean, at the time we were on a great run of form. I think we'd won 5 in a row, and people were sort of talking about playoffs and all sorts. Our goal has always been, since Nigel came in, it was just to get us in the same position and stay up. What we didn't want to do is start throwing money away, trying to chase a dream of the playoffs, and not be realistic about things. So we've managed to save. We're better financially off after the window. Cook and Maynard have obviously gone, and we've got a good wage recovery on them. Very good. So I think the January window, yes, people always want signings, but we don't want to just make signings for the sake of it, unless Nigel, Simon, Gary and the staff are sure about them. It's a lot easier to get deals done in the summer. I'm not saying it's easy, because it's still bloody hard work, to be honest with you, but we can be a lot more measured about things, and we will be this summer.
Brian Broughton has emailed in for David. Brian's from Chesterfield. Were there any restrictions placed on you by the owner during the January transfer window?
No. John's very, as long as we're very sensible, and he likes the thought process behind what we want to do. He'll back us, and Carolyn will back us. So he didn't say you've got this to spend, you can't do that. He was very supportive, but we didn't want to do much personally. Nigel didn't want to do much, so it was pretty straightforward, to be honest with you. We didn't go asking for X amount to spend on a player.
No, we did try very hard, especially leading up to the last few days of the window, to bring 1 or 2 more in, but we're not going to waste the money, and the players have to be better than what we've got, or significantly different.
Kieran Dove from Mansfield has sent us another email, and it's for Nigel. Kieran writes, we have very little in way of competition for places within the squad since the turn of the January transfer window, especially in the final third. Do you think us operating with a squad of 19 to 20 players is coming back to bite us, especially having no real opportunity of changing things up front to potentially grab a late goal on in games, as we have a real lack of goal threat with our strike force scoring in the region of 16 goals all season between all 3 of them?
Yeah, it was a difficult one to let Andy Cook and Nicky Maynard go, but what we've discussed is Jordan Barry and Jamie Reid, and sticking with them, and them improving. Certainly Jamie Reid getting his first taste of league football, and we are aware that we did do everything we can to bring strikers in, but we've got 𝘆cie𝘂𝗿, and we've just been unlucky that he's been injured, and he can play anywhere across the front 3. But everybody wants to give young players a chance, which now Jason Law is getting a chance as well. So 19, 20 players isn't a bad number. We've never been too short in terms of can't fill the bench or anything like that. So we feel it'll be enough to get us through this season, and then we'll know a lot more about the players.
Another email in for the manager, Richard Johnson from Shirebrook. How many of the current squad do you see in your plans for next season, and will the size of the squad be increased from what it is now?
Oh, difficult. Thanks, Richard. Difficult to say exactly how many, because it changes week to week almost. But we think we've got the nucleus of a good squad. We're talking about bringing in the region of 5 or 6, 7 players, something like that, just to bolster it. In terms of numbers, we've always worked along the lines of sort of 16, 17 senior outfield players, 3 goalkeepers, and then 2 or 3 sort of youngsters on top of that, just to bolster the squad as and when you need it. I think if you can get to that, maybe even 18, depending on who we can get, solid, good outfield, you're going to have 10% injured at any one time, at least. So that gives you, I think, a good squad to tackle the season with.
Sticking with the emails, here's one from Nick in Birmingham. Nigel, was the brief for this season to make ourselves safe from a relegation threat, and hence why the January transfer activity didn't make the kinds of changes this squad so evidently needs? Can we expect greater investment and change in the summer? Well, you've touched upon a couple of those points there, but slight nuances in the first question.
Yeah, the brief certainly to be safe, because after nearly a quarter of the season, then we were, hovering above the relegation places. So we're not quite safe yet, but we're getting there towards the top half of the league now, and then just a few more wins will secure that. But there was no restrictions placed on January. We just want to give this squad a fair chance, and then we keep saying that we won't waste the money. We won't bring people in for the sake of it. And January is notoriously such a difficult window to get that quality and to get the value.
Sticking with the emails, this is to both of you, and it's from Rob Frost in Mansfield. Rob asks, can we expect some big summer signings now the salary cap for Leagues 1 and 2 has been lifted? If so, is there already a target list, or are early negotiations underway? David?
The salary cap just change things slightly, albeit it was frustrating to work towards it and to didn't rip up our plans, but anyway, it could have been handled better. But we're back to SCMP now, so we still have to stick to certain rules. We can't just do what we want, and I don't think we want to do that. We want to manage this club carefully. We've seen in the past we spent a fortune and still not got over the line. So we need to manage it carefully. It does allow a bit more flexibility than it was doing previously under the salary cap. So we'll see. Simon, Nigel, they speak to me on targets, and then when there's a deal to get done, we'll get it done. And if we can get a couple done early, great. If we can't, then we'll be patient. I don't think the guys want to rush into anything. No, you can make a lot of mistakes. Mistakes are the worst thing you can do. So take your time, and I'm sure we'll get good deals in the summer.
We do as much due diligence as we can on the players, and there's certainly lists of targets being formulated now in the positions that we're concentrating on. And it's no secret we need to improve in both penalty areas, so they're the areas we're concentrating on.
Back to the videos now. Let's hear from Sam Binch again.
Hi David, with Kellen Gordon and Harry Charsley recently signing new deals, I wonder if we can expect to see any other players who are out of contract in the summer sign new deals before then, or will it be left more towards the end of the season?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Sam. Yeah, I've always been one for tying down players and not letting them run out the contract if they're an asset and if they're doing well. You don't want to run the risk of losing them. So we'll start conversations early. We are doing it at the moment with a couple. So and then there might be a couple that Nigel wants to speak to me about in a month's time. So it's very much fluid. But I speak to Nigel every day and Simon every day. So but ultimately I think the best clubs get business done earlier when it comes to contracts. You don't want to run the risk of a player having only 6 months on his contract and having interest. So that's why Kellen and Harry, we tied them down, and others will follow suit.
Next question comes from Richard in Skegby for Nigel.
Do you think we could develop a long throw specialist, as we've all seen how successful it is in other teams in our division? Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. It seems that most teams in our division do have somebody with a long throw. We wouldn't sign a player just because he had a long throw, but certainly we asked the players amongst the squad, is there anybody who can throw it in there? But it is, I think, a specialist skill to actually get it right in there into the 6-yard box. So if we can get a player who has that ability as well, that's brilliant, and we'll use it. If not, we'll just get the one who can throw it in, usually from a full-back position, into the near post area.
Who's got the longest throw in the squad?
Good question. Well, James Perch thought he had, but then he didn't reach the penalty area a couple of times. Tyrese was actually practicing them when we were preparing for the Cheltenham game. He was throwing a few in there. But we haven't got anybody. I think Mal can throw it quite far down the line, and Kellen Gordon. But there's not many players really with the sort of toes at Cheltenham with that absolute missile. And you don't want to rely on it too heavily as well. You just want it as an option sometimes.
John Thorpe would like to ask you this, Nigel.
Welcome to Mansfield Town, Nigel. I'm sure I speak on behalf of everybody. We're absolutely delighted that you're here and our new manager. Modern football at top level has started to see teams trying to play out from the back with quick give and go passing movement. It often leads to great creative build-up play, retaining possession, but also it leads to mistakes where we've seen high-profile players creating those mistakes and giving goals against. What's your view, Nigel?
Thanks, John. It's a difficult one because you talk about players at the top level and the most highly skilled in the country and the world who still make mistakes trying to do it. So we have to sort of get the risk and reward balance right. I don't think necessarily the two centre halves that we've been playing, Rawson and Sweeney, are at the most comfortable when they're having the ball, certainly in their own penalty area. So we have to take that into account. However, if we have the time and space to play, then they will be encouraged to do that. But it becomes, you don't want to let the opposition sort of play into their hands. They close you down and all of a sudden concede a goal. So it's very much up to the decisions of the players on the day as well. Yes, we'll play out if we can, but only if we can.
Back to the emails. We've got a mini section now about the goalkeepers. Chris Priest from Mansfield writes into us via email. Nigel, what attributes do you look for from a goalkeeper? What's your view on playing out from the keeper and a sweeper-keeper role?
I think a modern day goalkeeper now is getting judged as much on his distribution and how he can do it with his feet, to deal with the ball with his feet and everything as much as anything. We still need him to stop the ball going into the net. He still has to have good hands, communication, all those sorts of things. But it is a great help these days if you are good with your feet. In terms of the sweeper role, yes, they have to come and deal with the ball over the top outside the penalty area at times. But it's the same with any player. The overall package we look at, but the main job is still keeping the ball out of the net. I grew up watching Peter Shilton. He never came out his penalty area, and he's regarded as one of the best goalkeepers in the world at his time and still now, and he never ever came out his penalty area. So as long as they keep the ball out of the net, we don't mind really.
Another question now from Chris. How do you as a manager work with the keepers in training, i.e. at what stage of the training session do you bring them in? And do you tell them what you need from them at certain parts of a game? Or do you liaise with the goalkeeping coach to work on that?
Well, we work very closely with 𝘆cie𝗂𝗿, who we're lucky to have as our goalkeeping coach. They do normally at the start of training. All the players will do the warm-up. The goalkeepers will go off separately while we do the first stage of whatever we're doing, either some possession or something. We try and keep them out of the way as much as we can because they're a nuisance, really, goalkeepers, you know. They tend to injure players if you involve them in things and so on, and then they come in for the game at the end. But we're always talking to them as well about certainly what we need at certain stages of the game, distribution, things like that. They're very, very much a part of the team like that. So it's a very inclusive sort of environment for them.
Chris put in the email, actually, Nigel, Chris plays for the Football in the Community walking team, and he's asked if you at some point could come and coach them, give them a coaching session.
Well, some of our lads are walking around at times, so that should be quite familiar. But we'll certainly come down. We might have a little join in with them.
Back to the emails. One from Peter Frost from Berry Hill in Mansfield. It's for Nigel. Aidan Stone has been given a bit of a run in the side. Who does Nigel consider as his number one goalkeeper, Stone or Marek Steck?
That's what we're trying to establish. We don't think there's much between them. They've both got their attributes, pluses and the minuses. Marek's got back in now because of an injury to Aidan Stone. He'll probably stay in for the next few weeks, and then we'll judge from there. But I don't think there is a clear number one between them at the moment.
Back to the video questions, and let's take one from Martin Neve from Norfolk.
First of all, thanks to the current owners and all the directors for everything they're doing for my club at the moment, and particularly to David and Nigel. I'm interested to know, when you're looking for new players, what are the sort of physical, technical qualities that you're looking for? And what are the personal qualities that you're looking for, both on the field and off the field? And how do you balance and match those two together? Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. We have a sort of formula that we use when we're looking at players. There's 3, 4, 5 of us try and watch players, and we all try and see them because we all have different opinions and everything, and then we go through all the sorts of things, do as much background information as we can. A lot of it is stat based in terms of things that are available about players, so we go through this formula, and then we certainly do an awful lot of talking. David will be in on that as well on a day-to-day basis when we're looking at players. And we do as much, we talk to many players, managers, ex-players, managers that have worked with that player as well to get a good idea about their background, to see if they fit in with the sort of culture we're trying to create here. So it's very in-depth, the sort of things that we do.
Let's head across the Atlantic now and get a question from Maggie Brooke, who's in the States.
Hi, my name's Maggie from America, born and bred in Mansfield, long-time Stags fan. My question's for Nigel. Are we going to make any big signings over the summer? And for now, I just wanted to have one thing to say. Yellows!
Thanks, Maggie. Yeah, we're going to make some signings. Whether they're big ones or not will be judged by other people. It doesn't matter whether they're big, small signings or whatever, they've got to be good signings and players that are good for the club. That's all we're interested in. Not big money ones, not flash ones at times, just good signings who are going to improve the team.
Our final video question comes from James Radford.
A question for both David and Nigel. With the league's 1 and 2 salary caps now being scrapped for next season, What will be your policy on transfers going forward from here? Will you be looking to bolster the squad with more experience in this league? Or will you be looking for bargain buys on younger players looking to prove themselves? We've had some very expensive salaried teams in the past that have ultimately fallen short of the goal of promotion. So just interested to see what your thoughts on this were.
Thanks, James. Yeah, sort of a lot of talking's already started, and lists are being formulated at the moment for our targets in the summer. We don't have any particular genre of player, whatever, old experience, young or whatever. We just want good players to fit into the positions and fit into the culture we're trying to create here. So that's the most important thing. Not necessarily after big money signings, big wages signings. We just want good, solid team players that can help us achieve success.
And our final question of the programme is via email from Gary Wheatley in Nottingham. Even though recent results have not been what we all wanted, and also having been inflicted with some rather badly timed injuries to key players, are you still happy being Mansfield Town's manager? And can you see yourself seeing out this project until the end? And do you feel part of the Mansfield family, Nigel?
Definitely. One of the lovely things in the last few months has been the welcome we've had from everybody at the club, all the staff. I know we haven't seen the supporters face to face, but generally the feedback we're getting. But it's most important the welcome from people at the club, at the 𝘆liche Academy and here at the stadium. We feel very much a part of everything at the moment. And I hope we're allowed the opportunity to stay around and as long as we can to get success.
We hope so as well. Let's now get a check on the all-important 𝘆cie𝗿𝗿 League 2 table. Our win against Cheltenham on Tuesday lifts us to 16th in the division on 40 points. That's 11 points clear of the drop zone. And a look at our remaining fixtures this season. 30 matches to play, 7 at home, 6 away, starting with the 338-mile round trip to Crawley this Saturday. So what do you think, Nigel? How many wins to secure safety?
Well, we'd love to get over that 50-point mark as soon as possible. 3 wins and a draw gets us to that, but we want to achieve more points than that. But that's the bottom line at the moment.
Appreciate both of your generosity of time. Let's give you the opportunity now of the final word to the Stag supporters. David.
I haven't met you all yet, obviously, for reasons that we all know about, but I see the amount of numbers on the iFollow. I get them through after every game, and you're all watching. You've stuck with us through, let's be honest, it was a brutal start to the season. Nowhere near good enough. 12 games in the league without a win, 14 in all comp, just not good enough for this football club. Not something that I wanted to I couldn't be proud of. But since Nigel's come in, you've seen the upturn in form, and the signs are there that we're going to have a very positive future. But stick with us. We'll have bad days, we'll have good days. Hopefully have more good days than bad days, and hopefully you'll be in this stadium from August onwards and get the place rocking, and let's see where it takes us. But yeah, it's been a long, hard season. Let's get to May, see where we get to. Hopefully get a few more wins. First of all, go and warm up because I am freezing.
Nigel.
Thanks for all your support since we've come into the club, even from afar, remotely or whatever. Appreciate all your questions today. There's a lot of good support behind this club. Looking forward to seeing you all. We hope in August for the start of the season. Try and be patient with the players as much as you can, and give them all the backing that you can, and that'll give us our best chance for success.
That's all from us here at the One Call Stadium. My thanks to both David and Nigel for their generosity of time, and to you for submitting your questions. We do hope to see you soon, but for now, from me, David and Nigel, take care. Goodbye for now.